Hey guys, welcome back to the channel where we talk about education, behavior, and boundaries. My name is Matt, I'm a veteran teacher, and today we are continuing our series with Potter Pedagogy, talking about the one and only Professor Lupin.
Expertise, clearly, it's full of dark magic.
I seriously doubt it, Severus. It looks to me as though it's merely a parchment designed to insult anyone who tries to read it.
I think Professor Lupin and Harry have a really cool relationship. What I also appreciate is Lupin's approach to teaching in general. He is the new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher coming in at the third movie of the Harry Potter series and Prisoner of Azkaban. Now, even though Lupin is a pretty standard character in Harry Potter from Prisoner of Azkaban on, I'm going to specifically talk about his teaching practices from the third movie. Now, of course, we see a lot more of Lupin in the books, as with every other character, but Lupin kind of goes into more of a cool uncle type role than a teacher type role. And if we're going to talk about Potter pedagogy, I want to talk to the teachers, the advocates, and other people who are working in that space. We can learn from Lupin as educators. And when I say educators, if you watch my previous videos, I believe everybody's an educator, whether you know it, accept it, or not. Because people look at you, we all look at each other and learn things. We're constantly taking in information, and the way you present yourself, what you do that does work, we're looking and we're watching, and whatever doesn't work, we learn that too. So I want to specifically hone in on Lupin because he's an excellent character in the series, but I want to talk about him before he goes to the really cool uncle side of it, okay? Obviously, not every educator has this experience of being able to save their students from near death or something worse than death and getting your soul sucked out of you. What's really cool, though, is to have a teacher that has worked in a realm or a space before in real life, and this is the person that's going to be teaching me about this. It's really cool. I've had business professors who have started and managed their own companies. I've had anatomy and physiology professors who were doctors before, and they're talking about their professions, talking about what they've seen and things like that. So it's really, really cool to have an educator who has literally been there. I told a kid the other day that our water bill was almost $300 because he had mentioned that his mom was going to get him a PlayStation 4 or cash, whatever he preferred. And he said the PlayStation 4 was $300. And that started a conversation to know how much things cost, and just being able to have those real life applications and bring those into the classroom. Because the biggest question that we still get to this day as educators in the classroom is, when are we ever going to use this? Because the fear is these kids don't want to waste time. We as people don't want to waste time because there is something in us that understands, even from a very young age, we have a limited amount of time on this earth. So every minute I want it to mean something. As many minutes as I can, I want it to mean something, right? Even if it's just rest, I want to rest so that I can have some meaningful moments later. And if this is going to waste my time, I don't want to waste my time. And being able to draw in your personal experience in a certain niche and a certain subject is really, really cool, and that's good for the students to see. So I really like that this is the introduction that we get to Lupin, because we literally see him in his element, in his subject that he's going to be teaching, literally defending Harry against the dark arts, as well as the other students on that train.
What was that thing? Okay.
It was a Dementor, one of the guards of Azkaban. It's gone now. It was searching the train for Sirius Black. If you'll excuse me, I need to have a little word with the driver.
This is what I like about Lupin too. He doesn't withhold information. If it's not harmful for the students to know something, let them know it. There's no need to keep any unnecessary secrets. The few times I can think of that it's not okay to tell students what's going on is if it's for the student's safety, or if it's impeding on another student's privacy or the privacy of another adult. Privacy issues, safety issues, those are reasons. But if at any point a student asks a question, our job as educators is to answer that question as thoroughly as we can. And that also builds trust between you and the students.
Would anyone like to venture a guess as to what is inside?
That's a boggart, that is.
Very good, Mr. Thomas.
I love this whole scene with how the students walk in to this mystery box and there's already so much anticipation in the room. What is this box? Why is it shaking? What's going on? And then Professor Lupin puts words to the question. What do y'all think this is? And just an excellent lesson. We talk about discovery-based learning. This is how you can set it up in your classroom. Have a new stimulus, present a new stimulus that might be novel or new to the classroom, and let's see what happens. Kids are curious, man. They're curious about the world around them. We have a really cool opportunity as classroom teachers to kind of shake up the routine a little bit, because classrooms are pretty predictable, which is good to an extent because you want that comfort there. But anytime that we can bring in something that ignites curiosity, it's actually pretty great, because the classroom in and of itself is pretty grayscale. So anytime you bring in any color, like Lupin is with this Bogart in the classroom, it just makes the colors more vibrant of what they would see in real life, and thus a more exciting classroom and more excited students.
Now, can anybody tell me what a boggart looks like?
No one knows.
When'd she get here?
Boggarts are shapeshifters. They take the shape of whatever a particular person fears the most. That's what makes them
So terrifying, yes. Good. A little louder. Very clear. Listen. Ridiculous.
This class is ridiculous.
Very good. Well, so much for the easy part. You see, the incantation alone is not enough. What
Pointed this
really
out with
finishes a
McGonagall because she
boggart
did it
is-
so very well, and I want to point this out with him too. He is having an entire conversation with the classroom. He is making eye contact with individual students at different times. Everybody's in this conversation. He is asking questions. He is letting the students drive this conversation. And there is like a tit for tat sort of thing with this type of conversation, especially things like finishing Hermione's sentence. That was intentional, because he wants to show that there's this dance in this education, because you guys are about to learn something really cool. I'm excited about it. It's going to be really, really fun, and it's a safe environment. You're good. I know this. I'm a professional. I can help you out if it gets a little hairy. Potter.
I'm proud of you, you know that. I hope you do.
However, that whole moment where she's like, that's what makes it so, and he says, so terrifying. It's cool because it's like a really on the nose way of that tit for tat conversation that we should have with students. Whoever is doing the talking is doing the learning. So as classroom teachers, and if you're an educator and whatever that looks like in your field, try to get whoever you are presenting the information to talk the most. Whoever is doing the talking is doing the learning. Their gears are going. It's a really fun process if you just let it take root. And it can also be a very frustrating process if you try to stop that.
Laughter. You need to force it to assume a shape you find truly amusing.
Neville, what frightens you most of all?
Professor Snape.
Sorry?
Professor Snape.
Professor Snape. Frightens all. And I believe you live with your grandmother.
Yes, but I don't want that boggart to turn into her either.
No. It won't. I want you to picture her clothes, only her clothes, very clearly in your mind.
This is so cool how he is involving the kids so much in this lesson. Like, this lesson could not and would not exist without the participation of the kids, which if you are an educator planning a lesson, the question needs to be, could this lesson exist without the kids? If the answer is yes, it's not going to be an engaging lesson. Is it going to be fruitless? No, not entirely. I've learned so many things from possibly objectively some of the worst teachers out there, but I've still learned things. You're going to learn things from worse places, right? I'm thinking in terms of a classroom lesson. Would this be possible without the kids? And if it is possible without the kids participating, then I need to figure out a way to get them involved in the lesson and give them ownership of what's going on in the classroom and the education that's going to happen.
Think, Neville, think.
Ridiculous!
Wonderful, Neville, wonderful, incredible. Okay, to the back, Neville. Everyone form a line. Form a line. I want everyone to...
There is a certain amount of chaos that Professor Lupin is just letting happen because these are kids. Kids are chaotic. Even in the way they move and the way they speak and how they maneuver around the world, it's chaotic. So I appreciate that Lupin is not saying, hey, y'all calm down, stop shoving each other. It is okay to allow a little bit of chaos into the classroom because kids are chaotic. Let them be them. Education is a little messy. That's how it is in the real world. I'm learning how to sheetrock a wall right now. That's a messy process. But every time I do it, I'm getting better. All education is the same. As we're learning to do things, it's a messy process. Through pain and through messes, we learn the best lessons. And we internalize them because we don't want it to be painful and messy in the future.
Concentrate. Pace your feet. Be brave. Wander the ready, Ron. Wander the ready.
I also like the use of music in the classroom. Like when we're doing independent work, it just keeps the momentum up. Like it keeps the energy up. You don't feel like you have to fill the room with space and with sound because the sound's already there. It's a live classroom. There's sound waves moving. Like it's fun. Lupin's part was very small in this lesson, actually. He had Neville come up. He taught one student, this is how you do it, walked him through it. And while he's walking him through it, everybody else is watching and obviously picking up on those same lessons. And as they watch Neville do it, they're like, okay, I know what to do. All right, guys, let's get to going.
Ridiculous!
See? Very good, very good. Marvelous. Absolutely very, very enjoyable. Pavati. Next.
That's cool, man. That's so cool. Like, he's celebrating these kids like he's making it big. Like, that was so awesome. Like, so great. That's why I really, 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 really hate the axiom, don't smile until after Christmas. That is the worst thing you can do. Kids need happy teachers. Kids need happy teachers. Teachers that celebrate the big wins and then help and comfort and teach through the big losses. But this is so cool, man. It's so cool to see Lupin get excited with these kids. And you see Ron, he kind of looks at Lupin like, did I do it right? And just look for that validation and get even better than the best expectations you can get with that validation from an adult. Like, oh my gosh, Ron, that was incredible. Excellent. Good job, man. Really, really good. Oh, I love it. Warms my heart. Warms my heart.
Ridiculous!
Differentiated learning. And differentiated learning is just, it's a longer than necessary word that just means different learners. Differentiated means different. You're just making learning different for each kid, and you have to know where those limits are. And you saw when Harry came up, Lupin became alert, became ready, because he knew this was going to be a different outcome, or could possibly be a different outcome. And you hear Lupin kind of talk about it in this next scene. So I'm going to let him.
You want to know why I stopped you facing that boggart, yes? I would have thought it would be obvious. I assumed it would take the shape of Lord Voldemort.
I did think of Voldemort at first.
See, there you go. He thought it was going to take the shape of Lord Voldemort, which would be pretty bad. That would be pretty traumatic for the class, and also put Harry in a very uncomfortable position. Anything that would stigmatize the student, you don't want to happen. You want to kind of be that safeguard there. I really appreciate that Lupin is having this conversation with Harry so that Harry knows, I don't think you're any less than the kids. Understand that your life has been very different from the kids, most of the other kids in this classroom. And because of that, it affected the way that you experienced this lesson and how I treated you opposed to the other kids. I think that's just a very great conversation to have with kids. Let them know that it's different, but it's not less. I see this a lot being a special education teacher for middle school, because middle school is where you're starting to feel these emotions and starting to have this sense of self-develop, and you feel like people are looking at you all the time. I've had multiple kids that come to the resource classroom and resources where we pull out and of the general ed classroom and kind of talk through things. Kids know when they're with the special education teacher, and I've had kids ask me, could I come in a little late and leave a little early from your classroom, because I don't want my friends to know that I come to you. I don't want them to know I come to a special education teacher. So a very great conversation that I have just about every year is a conversation of, you learn differently, but you're not stupid. You're actually very intelligent in numerous ways. You just learn differently. And I have specialized in those differences. That's why you come to me. We can understand something, but it'll take our emotions a while to catch up with that. This is just a great conversation to have with kids. Let them know that different is not less.
No. Professor, why do the Dementors affect me so? I mean, more than everyone else.
You are not weak, Harry. The Dementors affect you most of all because there are true horrors in your past, horrors your classmates can scarcely imagine.
So again, in these conversations, Lupin is letting Harry know you're different, but you're not weak. Being different does not make you weaker. However, I'm going to try to help you understand these differences. You need to look at these differences and not see them as handicaps, but just see them. These are part of who you are. And because of that, because you're a different person, just like all your classmates are different from each other and you're different from them, you have to figure out how this is going to work for you.
Past horrors your classmates can scarcely imagine. You have nothing to be ashamed of.
I'm scared, Professor.
Well, I'd consider you a fool if you were.
Hello? I appreciate the validation of feelings. Yeah, who wouldn't be? I'd consider you a fool if you weren't scared. And again, how this can relate to my classroom teachers. Yeah, this is hard. You just learned it 2 days ago, and we have a test on it next week. Of course it's hard. Of course you're frustrated. Of course you're stressed. That I would be worried if you weren't. That's how you validate feelings. Like, of course you are. Why wouldn't you be? You take this seriously. Appreciate that line.
Now, the spell I'm going to try to teach you is called the Patronus Charm. Did you ever hear of it? No? Well, Patronus is a kind of positive force, and for the wizard who can conjure one, it works something like a shield with the Dementor feeding on it rather than him. But in order for it to work, you need to think of a memory. Not just any memory, a very happy memory, a very powerful memory. Can you do this?
These lessons are intended so that I'm going to teach you skills that I don't necessarily teach the rest of the class, because you have different things you need to know. So let's talk about this and help you master this skill that is going to help you directly with life in this situation. Because Harry's facing different dangers. He needs to know this a little more urgently than every kid is on their own path and a different path. Some are what we would call accelerated. Some might be more elementary. It just depends. There's not one that's greater than the other. It's just different paces. It's not even different paces. It's different races. So teaching a kid to run your race and what do you need to run your race. And once you can identify that, then we can work together and make it happen.
But in order for it to work, you need to think of a memory. Not just any memory, a very happy memory, a very powerful memory. Can you do this? Yes. Very well.
I also appreciate how Lupin will stop and make sure all answers are absolute. Because you see that Harry nodded right there, but you also see Lupin look at him and say, is that a yes? I worked with a teacher. We co-taught together. I loved what he did, where he would ask a question, and all students do this. We do it as adults too all the time. When we're not sure about an answer, we answer with a question mark. For example, my co-teacher would say, hey, what's 2 plus 2? The student would answer, 4. He would say, well, are you asking me or telling me? And then they'll give a confident, oh, 4, I'm telling you. All right, well, tell me. Say it. Because the main thing we want to get from students is confidence, strong and wrong. I mentioned a Mike Lipkin quote a few videos ago. He said, I've made mistakes before, but I never doubted myself. That's the thing. Mistakes happen, but in the moment, you need to have full confidence. This is my answer based on my experiences. If it turns out to be wrong, now I have a new experience and more wisdom, but I'm still going to move with confidence because I don't want that hesitation to be there, because hesitation will hurt you a lot more than inaccuracy will.
Close your eyes. Concentrate. Explore your past. Do you have a memory? Allow it to fill you up. Lose yourself within it. Then speak the incantation Expecto Patronum.
Expecto Patronum.
Very good. Shall we? Wand is ready.
Expecto Patronum! Expecto! Expect.
Here we go. Come on, sit up. Deep breaths. All right. I didn't expect you to do it the first time. That would have been remarkable. Here.
Again, Lupin is so good. He takes time to show Harry this is exactly what we would expect for you to do your first time. Because Harry's going to feel defeated, so he addresses it head on. Yep, didn't expect you to get it the first time. Let's try again. Love that, man. He does that so well, of just meeting the student where they are, addressing it, and now, all right, now it's time to move on. Let's go.
Excellent little...
Professor.
Well, Lupin. Out for a little walk in the moonlight, are we?
Harry? You all right?
That remains to be seen.
Since the start of the series, one thing I'm really appreciating is the colleague-to-colleague interactions, because this is one of the biggest hurdles that, I don't even want to say hurdles, but it's a thing that when you're in the professional realm, you just deal with, especially in teaching when we're trying to work on behalf of others. Teaching, I'm sure it's the same with hospitals and medical services and health services and things like that. But I really appreciate these moments where we get to see these teachers and professors have colleague-to-colleague interactions and see how they navigate those things, even with the toughest of personalities. I guess a lot of people would say a tougher personality with Snape. So we get to see this happen. So I'm pretty pumped. I'm excited.
I have just now confiscated a rather curious artifact from Mr. Potter. Take a look, Lupin. It's supposed to be your area of expertise. Clearly, it's full of dark magic.
Oh, I see. Nevertheless, I should investigate any hidden qualities it may possess. It is, after all, as you say, my area of expertise. Harry, would you come with me, please? Professor, good night. Come here.
I love that scene. Just personally, it's just so satisfying because Severus is so ugly to Harry, and especially in the books. Man, y'all, Snape in the books is such a jerk. In the movies, obviously, much more likable character. For those who haven't read the books, you're like, how is that possible? You'll see. But in this moment where Severus is just kind of railing Harry a little bit, but on a teacher standpoint, on an educator standpoint, colleague to colleague, I would not call any of my coworkers by their first names in front of students. And honestly, in my head, Lupin kind of caught this and then fixed it. He said, all right, Professor, good night. Like, gave that respect to. So we ended on a note of respect. It was clear that he didn't agree with Snape's methods. He still respected Snape's part of this child's education. Also, as we see in a later scene, Lupin still digs into Harry and lets him know, do you understand the gravity of what you're doing? Do you understand that this is breaking the rules? Do you understand why the rules are there?
You know, your father never set much store by the rules either, but he and your mother gave their lives to save yours. Gambling their sacrifice by wandering around the castle, unprotected, with a killer on the loose, seems to me a pretty poor way to repay them.
So I appreciate that, even though in the moment Harry is like, oh man, this is my boy. He looking out for me. Lupin still keeps that accountability and that expectation high and saying, you know better than this. And he really steps into this mentor role, like an educator's role, of saying, you have to do better.
You've been sacked.
No, I resigned, actually.
Resigned? Why?
Well, it seems that somebody let slip the nature of my condition. This time tomorrow, the owls will start arriving, and parents will not want someone like me teaching their children.
But Dumbledore...
Dumbledore has already risked enough on my behalf. Besides, people like me are, let's just say that I'm used to it by now. Why do you look so miserable, Harry?
None of it made any difference. Pettigrew escaped.
Didn't make any difference. Harry, it made all the difference in the world. You helped uncover the truth. You saved an innocent man from a terrible fate. It made a great deal of difference. Oh. If I am proud of anything, it is of how much you have learned this year. Now, since I am no longer your teacher, I feel no guilt whatsoever about giving this back to you. So now I'll say goodbye, Harry. I feel sure we'll meet again sometime. Until then...
I appreciate teacher departures. Usually, I'm going to kind of out myself here. Whenever I leave a place, I don't say goodbye to the students. Usually because I'm in that transition year where... So, for example, if it's a 5th or 6th grade campus and I'm teaching 6th graders, I'm not going to say, hey, guys, I'm not going to be here next year, blah, blah, blah. It's just, they're leaving, and they're going to have new teachers anyway, things like that. So I usually don't have this conversation with kids. But if it was like this, and obviously they had like more of a mentor-mentee relationship, then yeah, I would have this conversation and say this transitions into more of a, acquaintance. I'm here if you need me. I'm here to help you, advise you if you need anything. I actually had this with one of my high school teachers when he said, I do not, because we send him friend requests on Facebook, and he's like, I do not accept friend requests while you're my students. I don't do that. But sure enough, when we graduated, then it was kind of cool. We all graduated, and then we kind of all hung out together after graduation. And it was like at the same time we all noticed, hey, Mr. So-and-so accepted our friend request, because at that point it went from teacher to now we can be acquaintances or colleagues, or I'm here for advice. It's still like an advisor type relationship, like a mentor-mentee relationship, but that relationship has changed to not as rigid. All right, y'all. So that was my reaction to Professor Lupin. What would I grade him? What would his grade be? Obviously, he cares about the students. That goes without saying. The way that he involved students in the lessons was incredible. It's so cool. And honestly, I don't know if I see this from anybody else in the series, including McGonagall. The way that he includes these kids in his lessons, like his lessons would not have been possible without the involvement of the kids. Absolutely incredible. Colleague to colleague interaction, I would give him like a solid, maybe like a B on that one, because he does, especially with the tougher colleagues who are just harder on the students than necessary. He kind of spars with them a little bit. So like an A- B area. But ultimately, I give Lupin an A. He cares about the students. He's respectful to colleagues, and he keeps the expectations high every time. And he also empathizes with a lot of these kids. What Lupin's strength was, he was really good about validating where a student was. And of course we see him with Harry, but he would do this with any other student too, where he has done this pattern before. He meets the student where they're at. He addresses what they're feeling. Any feeling of failure, he's like, of course you failed. Who wouldn't? Like in math, I have that conversation with kids all the time. They get so frustrated when they can't add mixed numbers. And I was like, of course you can't add mixed numbers right now. You just learned this yesterday. And I learned that lesson partially from Professor Lupin. So yeah, man, he gets an A+ from me. Excellent execution here. If you like this video, please go ahead and like and comment anything that I might have missed. You guys do such a great job commenting on my other videos and giving like almost like little deleted scenes and things like that, and just different angles of stuff. I really enjoyed it, and it helps the context of the video. So thank you so very much for doing that. So yeah, like the video, leave a comment. It really helps with the algorithm and all those different things. And if you want to see more videos like this, I've done one on Snape. I've done one on McGonagall. I'm trying to build up a collection on the Potter Pedagogy playlist. Go check that out. If y'all like this, I know you're going to love those. And subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new uploads. I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you again. God bless.